Hello everybody, I'm Anna, also known as Anna Knitter on Ravelry, Anna Lena Knitter on Instagram, where you can find me, and on Telegram I'm Anna Knitter. There's our knitting group, our international knitting group, my personal knit along I will talk about later. This is a knitting and crocheting podcast, and today I have to show you finished objects, works in progress. I share the German word of the day with you, our current knit along prompt in our Telegram group, and InstaKnitNight questions. So let's start with finished objects. Okay, finished objects. First of all, I want to show you a baby blanket that I have received from one of the ladies in the Telegram group. I told you in the last episode already that the ladies there host a virtual baby shower for me, and this stunning blanket arrived. Look at this. Wait. It's easier to show you that way. It's lace and in a very woolly yarn, very thick, warm. This will be great for autumn and winter in the car seat or wherever the baby needs to be warm. It's very, very pretty. So I wanted to show you that. I didn't do that. I didn't knit that. That's above my, I would say, patience level, all the lace stitches. Now we come to my finished objects. Oh, and now I remember, the last time I showed you all the finished items or the gifts I received from the ladies, I realized that I stacked away the burp cloths, or burping cloths, I don't know, another lady in our group made for me. And I did not show you because they are already ready to use up there. And they are so cute and soft. There's this one elephant fabric, and then this, I would say, polka dot, yellow polka dot fabric. And you see how many I received. And there's everything already. All the other, yeah, we don't call it burp cloth in German. We call it the Spucktücher, spit cloth. So when the baby is spitting out the milk or whatever babies spit out and do. Yeah, and they are already ready to use up there on our changing table. So now we come to my finished objects. I wanted to knit the Starpillow Asterisk by Gudrun Ohle for a long time. Many Opal yarn fans and subscription recipients or subscribers knit at least one ball out of the shipment into this kind of pillow, but I wasn't sure if I want to make a pillow I can't, let's say, wash easily, because you fill it with polyfill or with wool or whatever, and then you close it and it will be closed forever. And I'm a big fan of pillows, and also my sofa even, that I can wash, you know, where I can put off the sheets, the linens, the covers, and then wash it, because I have a dog and I really like to have a clean and tidy flat. And you know, you use these items so much and it's not so easy to wash. So now I found a way to finally knit this pattern in a way I can live with. I made this tiny version of the Asterisk, of the Starpillow, and made it into a musical, how do you call it? This inside this tiny pillow is a music box, and we call this a Spieluhr. A play clock, word by word translated. So what babies usually have to fall asleep more easily. I will talk about the yarn first, and then I will show you a little bit of the music. So the yarn is Opal from the Africa collection, and the colorway, let me see, the colorway is 11163. I really like this yellow color. I knit a pair of socks for my mother-in-law already in the past, and I bought a skein or a ball for myself as well. Usually I'm not that, I don't wear yellow, or I don't buy yellow items very often, but I thought yellow yarn is not so easy to get. Pretty yellow and variegated yarn yellow is not, even with hand dyers, it's not so often that they do that. And I really like the warm mixture of the tones, and I bought one for myself without knowing what to do with it. And for a star, it's so perfect. I used 2.5mm needles. I started this on September 30th and finished it on October 3rd. I filled it with polyfill, and let me think. Usually the Starpillow is like this big, so double or 3 times the size. You start in the middle, and you start in the middle of one half of the pillow. Or let me think. How did I do that? Yeah, you knit 2 sides, so 2 separate sides. Later on you connect them to each other after you did the increases you wish. So I increased every you know, how it's called, Zacken. So the zigs or the zegs, or how it's called. So I increased to 29 stitches, and then put the stitches on hold, increase to 29 stitches, put the stitches on hold, and so on and so on. You do that with both sides, and then you connect them to each other, so no sewing, and you decrease like with a German toe. It's a very, very, very easy pattern. It's a little bit fiddly in the beginning, and when you start to connect the 2 sides together, and it's with DP ends. You can do it with magic loop or with circular needles, I'm sure, but I don't know. I think it's, especially this pattern is so much easier with DP ends, but I used 6 DP ends, not 5. So I used for every corner of the star, how it's called, I don't know, 1 deep double pointed needle, and then 1 working needle of the double pointed needle. So you need 1 more than usual. It's fiddly at some points, but most of the time it's very enjoyable. So as I said, I increased to 29 stitches, I think. You can find this on my Ravelry project page. And there is a Ravelry pattern, it's free, but there's also an English video tutorial. I don't know if the lady knits it exactly the same way as the pattern I used, but for those of you who are not on Ravelry, that could be an option if you want to knit this. So you can basically increase as much as you want. The original pattern uses 100 gram of fingering weight yarn. So this is sock yarn, and I used for this size 30 gram. And then I stuffed it with polyfill before I closed the last stitches. And in this one I have the song Hush Little Baby, because I love this song. I made another music box for our baby, and that was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but this is Hush Little Baby. Many women use self-striping yarn from Opal. Opal doesn't often dye semi-solids like this. And with self-striping yarn, it looks, even if it's a patterning self-striping yarn, not only blocked stripes, it looks amazing. If you pay attention to where you, so when you attach the yarn again so that you stay in pattern, it looks amazing. It's great for self-striping yarn. So if you want to try that, I recommend it. It was a very, very fun knit. Yeah, and then it's a nice present for a new baby. Maybe it's something not many people do. So, you know, you gift something that the mother does not already have for her baby, or at least in a handmade version. And I think it took me 3 or 4 days, I told you when I started it. So very much fun. Okay, the next finished object is another pair of socks for my husband. But it's a special pair because I decided so this is a pair for his birthday. And his birthday is around my due date. So I thought, wouldn't it be very cute to knit a pair of father and son socks that are matching. So first of all, I will show you the grown-up sized socks for my husband. You will see that something happened that usually does not happen to me with Opal. There was something off in the pattern repeat, or the striping repeats, and I realized it a little bit too late. And usually I'm going for perfectly matching socks, but I was already very tired. I was sick again, by the way, and there was no chance for me to bring myself to unravel everything and start over again, especially because I really think it is a mistake in the yarn. I don't know, maybe I did the mistake, but the cuff started out perfectly matching, and then this happens. So I didn't study the repeat afterwards very closely again, but I think it's a mistake in the repeat in the yarn. But be it as it may, I decided on the leg, no one will see it. And I'm sure my husband wouldn't even notice it. And he doesn't care for things like that with his socks. So I decided after I turned the heel, I made sure that the foot is matching again, because that's what you see when you don't wear your shoes and you run around the flat. That's what you see when you look down. And that was important to me, that this is matching. I knit... this is 6-ply yarn from Opal. The collection is called Knuddelbande, Cuddling Gang in English. And the colorway is Mausezähnchen, so mouse teeth. Or little mouse teeth. Or tooth. It's only one. And I knit a broken rib. Whoop. So that means one round only knitting, and the other round is knit 3 and purl 1. And because it's sport weight, it should have been a relatively quick knit, but because I was knitting other things as well, let me check. Did I write down how long it took me? No, I didn't write it down, I'm sorry. But it took me longer than usual because I was knitting other things as well. And after that, I had much left over because the Opal sport weight sock yarn balls weigh 150 gram. And I couldn't make another adult size sock after I finished this one, so I decided to knit a pair of baby socks. And here they are. I only did a normal 2x2 ribbing for the leg, very long, so it stays on baby's leg. And it's matching. And now my husband and our tiny little boy have matching socks, and I think it's so cute. It's so much fun to knit for my husband and for the baby. That's something I will talk about later. So to the pattern. I have the Welcome Baby Socks pattern. Unfortunately, I don't have it for download at the moment because it's not on my website anymore since I closed the shop. And it's a free pattern. And it's difficult to put free patterns on Etsy. I haven't figured out how to do that. But in the blogged magazine there is the pattern for the Welcome Baby Socks. I will have to look up the issue which it was. But I didn't use the stitch count from my sock pattern because I wrote it for fingering weight yarn. So I just googled cast on sport weight baby socks and yeah, found the stitch count I don't have on my mind now. Yeah, and then knit the normal measurements from my pattern. This is my second finished object, and all the Christmas presents I wanted to make are finished already. Sorry, we got interrupted. So all the Christmas presents I wanted to make are already finished. Not only knitted presents, so knitting socks, knitted socks only, but also other presents I have to make myself are finished. One is already shipped to my friend. It's an early Christmas present for the baby, which leads us to the next finished object. I don't have here, but I will show you photos in just a second. And other handmade, yeah, self-made presents only for my husband this year. Yeah, only my husband receives handmade gifts other than the one gift for my friend, because I won't be able to make Christmas presents for the entire family by hand, because there will be a baby on the way, and I was enjoying knitting for the baby so much the last weeks and months. I didn't want to cut the time of that. So the other finished object is a baby blanket. I will insert a photo here on the screen so that you can see it. Maybe I have to make some room for it. Here it is. It's the corner to corner patchwork blanket. Let me check my notes. I have linked everything I talk about, all the pattern sources, Ravelry and outside of Ravelry, in the description box below. Okay, this C2C Patchwork Blanket I made out of Yarns Haydenville DK. I used a 3.5mm hook because it's a thin DK weight yarn. The original pattern used Stylecraft Special DK, then you can use a 4mm hook, but I had to use a 3.5 to get a nice tension. I used 3 different colors to create this gingham style, and that is the only reason I used the pattern. So I didn't use the instructions how to make the blanket by the pattern I link below, but I used a video tutorial I link below because it's very easy. It's the best video tutorial I found on corner to corner patchwork blankets. It's the easiest, it's the best explained. It's not the highest video quality, but it doesn't matter at all. You see everything you need to see, but I can totally recommend this. Don't go for the other videos on YouTube, because some of them make extra steps to make it more complicated than it has to be. They are shorter and you think, okay, I won't watch through this 3-part series of each video 30 minutes or so. I will take the 20-minute video by this and that YouTuber, but it's not that good. So I will link the video tutorial I used below. And it's not corner to corner in that sense that I started at the one corner of the blanket and crocheted to the other corner of the blanket. Because if you do that, you have to use all the 3 colors at the same time. It's the usual corner to corner is color work, and I didn't want to do it. So it's more of a join as you go C2C blanket. Perfect. So you crochet 1 square, start the next square, and you join it as you go. It's like the Cozy Memories blanket, but as crochet. And I'm looking forward to make a scrappy version out of that with that pattern as well. I started actually already to figure out how much gram and meterage I need, or how far I get with the 10 gram mini holding single, and so as a single strand or holding a double. because I want to make this as my next scrappy project with my Advent yarns I swap with my friend Christina. Yeah, okay, there are 3 different colors I used. Light pink, I used 5 balls. Natural, I used 4 balls. And persimmon, I used 2 balls. I started this on September 17th and it took me approximately a month. I finished it on October 13th, but 2 weeks I couldn't work on it because I had to order more yarn. And unfortunately they had problems with the shipping and it arrived with a week delay or so. So I can say, I would say I used, so I had, it took me 2 weeks of actual crocheting time to make this blanket. First of all, it's a baby blanket. Second, I was working on it monogamously. And third, it was so much fun. I don't know, crocheting is more addictive than knitting in my opinion. It's not more fun. I think both are fun and both are lovely and I like them both pretty much the same way. It depends on what I crochet. So crocheting amigurumis or so is not so much fun as knitting a sweater or a sock or a hat or so. Then I prefer knitting. But yeah, I don't know. There is something about the crocheting process I really like. And the Valet yarn is a little bit splitty. I don't know how it behaves with knitting needles. But I also have to say I use very cheap crochet hooks and I like my hooks. But everyone is talking about the tulip etimos or tulip hooks. I don't know if tulip etimo is another line of the tulip hooks. I ordered, and they arrived already, let me see. I ordered 2 different hooks for my next project I want to crochet, just to see if they are better. So first of all, no, it's etimo, yeah. I ordered a tulip etimo hook and a clover hook in 2.5mm size for my scrappy C2C blanket I want to work on. And I'm very curious if these 2 hooks behave better or the same than or as my cheap hook from Amazon. Yeah, because they all look the same to me. I can't see a difference. I can't see a difference. But, oh no, how is she called? Oh, back in the day she was called Le Petit Saint Crochet, but now she is something with the rose. I can't remember. She's great. She's a lovely crochet podcaster. I will write it on the screen. And she tested many different hooks. Maybe I find the video. I will link it below. And the clover hook was the best, even better than the etimo. If I remember correctly, she not only tried them out, but her husband. I told you already before in another video. Her husband has a machine with which he can analyze metal, how smooth metal is and what quality. And the clover one was, I think, the best or the second best one. Much better than other high-end hooks. Yeah, so I'm very curious. Because from my set, the 2.5mm hook seems to be a little bit, let's say not so smooth as the other ones. And with probably splitty yarn, it could be annoying. Oh, and then there is another finished, oh no, it's in my, I have to get it. I have another finished object for our baby, but it's already in the, in my luggage for the birthing center, because every day now the baby can come and I wanted to have it for the first days, if it fits. Let me get the head. Okay, I hope it was the last time that I have to get up before I end this podcast. So I knit a pumpkin hat for our baby, and this caused a little bit of brain ache, I would say. So let me first give you the details and then I tell you what my problem with this was. The pumpkin hat is a pattern by Marianna, linked in the description box below. I used the yarn by Lana Grossa. It's, I think it's an Italian brand. Meilenweit Cashmere. It's a sock yarn with 5% cashmere, so it's fingering weight yarn. But I held it double to create some kind of a DK weight, a light DK weight. I used 3.5mm needles because it's, as I said, a light DK. I alternated the pattern to knit it in the round because for whatever reason it's written as a flat head. So flat, knitted flat and then seamed together, and I didn't want to do that. Oh, and I used some leftovers for this. And now we come to what was a little bit difficult for me. This head looks to me very big. Although I have to say, not in the circumference. I laid other newborn heads, so it's newborn to 3 months or so, the size. I laid other heads next to it, and the width was, so, or the circumference was the same, but it was quite long. But you can do this, and it's not that long anymore, and all of a sudden it looks like a newborn head. Okay, I cast on 80 stitches, and this seems to be very many stitches. Most of the DK baby head patterns wanted me to cast on approximately 65 stitches, 60 to 66 stitches. But I checked the gauge of the other yarns, and it was always thicker DK weight yarn than what I was creating with mine. So I measured it, so I calculated gauge and everything, and I looked up several tables for head sizes for babies. I think one was from Craftsy and the other one was, I don't know from which side. So, and all the math I did, all the calculations I did, tell me this has to fit a newborn baby. But I have to say, I get a little bit anxious when I see this big head, and I think that I have to give birth to such a big head. But it looks quite small if I fold up the brim, so I hope that we can, so I hope this fits already the first days, a little bit at least, so we can make cute photos, because I think this pumpkin head is so stinking cute. And there are several vegetables and fruits you can make for your baby. I know now that there are, so there is a strawberry head, a blueberry head, and an apple head, and maybe pineapple and so on, and other fruits or vegetables as well. I really like that. After I finished it, and I was a little bit confused, although the numbers and the measurements are right. So on the paper everything is correct, but it looks so huge to me. So we will see. It's always difficult with baby garments and accessories with sizing. First I thought, no, I will immediately cast on a second head. I ordered more yarn in that color to make sure I knit one smaller version, so with 70 stitches for example. But then I thought, no, I don't want to do that. I calculated everything correctly. I used every source I was able to get my hands on for measurements, different sources. So I compared them with my gauge, with my swatch and everything. This should be fine. At least I would say this way. And so cute. And if not, it will fit after a few weeks and we will still be able to make cute photos. But I thought it would be cute with the newborn photos, because we want to make we want to have a newborn shooting shortly after the birth. So I think that is my last finished object. It was a very fun knit, although I was unsure during the entire process if I make everything correctly. Not the pattern, it's very easy. And even the not modification. Is it a modification if you, yeah, I think it's, yeah, so I changed it to be able to knit it in the round. I really don't see the reason why I should knit a head flat. So that was easy, but I was unsure if it will fit. These were, let me see. Yeah, my finished objects. Now we come to works in progress. I will show you first my sock. I wanted to knit my patriotic Germany socks, but maybe I find a picture, I will put it here. The color repeat is very long, and I don't have enough from this one ball. I only have 60 gram or so, and that's not quite enough to knit a pair of socks for me without knitting contrasting heels and toes. And I wasn't sure what yarn to use for contrasting, because if I use black, it could get in the way when the black stripe of our flag comes. If I used white, it's a too stark contrast, so I thought I will knit the pattern you see here with the white, because that makes it a little bit lighter, instead of one flash of white and then our flag colors. Well, it didn't turn out as I wanted it to be, because the pattern repeat was getting longer and longer and it wasn't looking good. And then I said, okay, I will try it next year again for October 3rd. And in the meantime, I cast on this beautiful yarn by Opal as my fall socks. It's the Black Dragon collection, but I'm not sure if this was available for purchase on the open market, so to say, because when I was receiving the Opal subscription, we got the mail that there was this special offer for subscribers to order this and another colorway. So here is a vanilla sock, but this colorway has a name, so maybe you can find it. The colorway is called, so the collection is called Black Dragon, and the colorway is called Fresh and Juicy 11073. I cast on 60 stitches, knit a 2x2 ribbing, vanilla. I thought about knitting a pattern, but I think this yarn is a little bit too busy for that. A slip stitch heel and vanilla foot. I really enjoy this yarn. It's very nice with this additional black thread in the yarn. It's only for the Black Dragon collections Opal is doing that, in my as far as I know. But I could have finished at least one sock, maybe even already a pair. But now that comes what I wanted. Now the topic I wanted to talk about comes, because I realized I was knitting and crocheting the last weeks only for our baby, so for other people, for our baby, for Tommy, and for my friend's baby, and for my midwives. And then I started to knit the sock for myself, and maybe I can blame the pregnancy, and after that everything will be normal again. But I wasn't having as much fun knitting for myself as for the other people I was knitting for. So I immediately asked my husband, what do you need knitting-wise other than socks? Because he has already a few pairs of socks. He always loves receiving socks, but I wanted to make him something he doesn't have so many items of, like socks. I knit him a hat and we thought about knitting so that I knit a scarf for him, but we couldn't find the right color, because the scarf he already uses, it's not handmade, is perfect for his what's called, well. And then I asked him if he could make use of mittens, and he said yes, not gloves but mittens. That was a relief. I would have knit him gloves too, but gloves are so fiddly. And so I asked him which color he wants, and we decided to use this Opal Unicolor. So it's sock yarn by Opal, fingering weight. And the colorway in German is called Rauch, which is smoke. But if you want to order this yarn, let me see. The color is 9936. Everything is written and linked down below. Not the yarn is not linked, but you will find it. And the pattern I have started is the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. You can find it on Ravelry and on their website, linked down below. So they want this pattern is written for many different yarn weights. So that's great. You can see what you have in your stash and decide then what you want to make. I knit this pattern 2 times before already. The last time I was using worsted weight yarn, I'm pretty sure. The same yarn I'm knitting my simple house slippers with. Now I'm using fingering weight yarn, and they wanted me to, the pattern calls for a 1x1 ribbing, but I think 1x1 ribbing, especially in thin yarn, looks so untidy, so I knit a half twisted rib instead of a normal 1x1. And I put it on circulars just because I wanted my husband to try them on now that is it also the cuff? Let's call it cuff now. The cuff seemed to be a little bit tight, so I changed it over to the circular needles so he can try it on. He tried it on this morning, and then afterwards, after podcasting, I will use my DPNs again and continue with the pattern, because now I think I have to knit a few rounds of stockinette and then do the thumb increase, or how it's called. It's a very easy and well written pattern, and it's very much fun. It's another thing that changed for me. Twisted rib, half twisted. I never do a full twisted because twisting the purl stitches is so annoying. So when I decide to make a half twisted rib, I usually don't enjoy the process. But the last days, it took me longer than a normal ribbing. A normal 1x1, and also longer than 2x2. 2x2 is the quickest for me. But I didn't mind doing that. I don't know, I wasn't in a hurry. I wasn't thinking about a deadline. I wasn't thinking about other projects I would prefer. And this is very boring yarn to work with. It's unicolored and grey. But because it's for Tommy, for my husband, and I know he really can make use of a pair of mittens, I really enjoy the process. This is a complete process knit. I don't stress over it. It's a very easy pattern, but I have to look at the pattern. It's not like autopilot with vanilla socks. Yeah. It's very nice. Although it took me so long, and although I usually don't enjoy making twisted rib. So I think the reason why I'm enjoying it, it's because I'm knitting it for Tommy. I would never do that for me. I think I would have knit a 2x2 ribbing. But 1x1 ribbing fits more snug on your wrist, especially half twisted rib, because it's a little bit tighter in my experience. And it's very much fun. And I'm looking forward to knitting on today. Oh, I didn't show you my bags. So this for Tommy is in my Harry Potter bag, but my friend Karina made for me. And is that my autumnal? Oh no, that's another project. My autumnal socks are in the other Harry Potter bag. I'm not sure who made this for me. I'm not sure. I forgot, unfortunately. So let me see. Yeah, these two works in progress are my only active works in progress, but I started another project, and this is in this lovely Halloween bag from Little Robin Cottage. Little Robin Cottage makes the most beautiful and well-made project bags I have ever had in my hand, and I totally recommend those bags. She has an Etsy shop. So now we come to knitting kits for childbed. So I hope childbed or maternity bed is the right word. I googled it, and it seems to me that childbed is the most common word, so I hope. If not, correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the comment section down below. I like to learn all these things. I was thinking about the time when the baby is here, the first weeks and let's say 3 or 4 months or so, how I can make my life easier. So I meal prepped a lot. I was cooking and baking, even Christmas cookies already, like a crazy person. So that is something we don't have to worry about when we have to care for a newborn. And other things, you know, you can prepare. For example, all the Christmas presents are prepared already. Not every Christmas present is bought or wrapped, but most of them are already here. The ones I have to ship are already, besides one, are already packed and so on. I only have to add the postage labels. So everything is prepared. So we can fully concentrate on being a new family. And the same goes for my knitting. So I thought, I think it will be difficult to find, or I don't know, it could be, maybe not, but I assume it could be difficult to find knitting time having a baby. And I'm very sure that mommy brain will hit me badly and that I won't be able, or not as able as I am now, to figure out a new pattern and get organized and finding time to wind yarns and find the right needles or hooks and try something out, for example swatching something and so on. So I thought, why not kitting up several different potential projects, so I only have to grab my project bag and everything is already inside. I already know how many stitches to cast on, or I have already cast on because it's a fiddly cast on, like with this one. I will show you in a few moments. The pattern is inside, the yarn is inside, the yarn is wound, so it's not in a skein anymore. And most of the times the right needles or hooks are in the bag as well. So I only have to grab the bag, and when I find 10 minutes while the baby is sleeping or while I'm nursing, I grab a bag and have something easy and fun and already prepared to work on. We will see, we will see. I thought I prepare it. Maybe I can make use of it. Maybe I won't have the time at all to knit or to crochet. Who knows? I don't know how our baby will be. If he's a screaming baby or if he's a very relaxed baby. So if he is outside the womb as he is now inside the womb, he will be very relaxed. He's very chill. I can feel his movements, and I love when I feel his movements. It's such a wonderful feeling. I can't compare it to something else I have experienced before in my life. But it's only a few times a day and very soft. So far, no kick was hurting me at all. Besides this 1 week where he was sitting on my kidney. But that wasn't his movement that was painful, it was just his position that was painful. And I am in the 37th week already, and he is already quite big, so big enough to be for his kicks to be painful, I think. So maybe that is still to come, or maybe it won't be painful at all. We will see. He's a very relaxed baby, and maybe he will be relaxed outside the womb as well. And in this, now I will show you my kits I prepared, okay? And this I have already started because it's a Musselburgh hat. And I know that many people said the start of this pattern is very fiddly because you do this pinhole cast on, or how you call it. And I didn't do what Isolde Teague, I think she is the designer of the Musselburgh hat. I didn't do her cast on. I did the, how is this lovely lady called? I think mostly knitting, but I will write it on the screen. It's a lovely podcast. She's a teacher in Sydney, and I really like her podcast. And she has a lovely tutorial for an alternative cast on, and I did that. It was very easy, but then I did, after the cast on, I did a mistake and didn't want to do this cast on again, just because I was impatient and thought, you know what, I will just cast on as usual, and at the end I will close this little hole. I will close this with my, you know, with the tail, and I think that won't be a problem. So I started the head, and now it looks a little bit funny, and the rest of the pattern is very easy. It's only increases every second row, I think, and then it's plain stockinette. I stopped working on it for knitting or starting the mittens. I think I can do this with the baby as well, because the increases are very easy, but probably I will find the time to finish the increases, and then I only have to work stockinette without anything to do. The yarn I'm using is this one. It's called Feinheit. I made a baby sweater out of this already, and it has 100 gram and 360 meter, so it's a thick fingering weight yarn. Yeah. They recommend 3.5mm needles. I'm using 3mm needles because that's what I used for the baby sweater. I took the gauge from the baby sweater and used the customization spreadsheet Isolde Teague offers, so you can put in all your information. How long do you want to have it, your head circumference, your gauge, and so on. And then the pattern translate to your measurements, and you don't have to count and calculate anything. And you can use the pattern, so the pattern changes the numbers and so on automatically, and I use that. It's very very well written with this spreadsheet. I think without the spreadsheet I would be a little bit overwhelmed and I wouldn't have started the head, because I'm not in the state, my mind isn't in the state now, or I'm not ready for something like that at the moment. So now I will quickly show you my kitted projects. Okay, in this bag I have, oh yeah, here I have the yarn for a potential second pumpkin head. I don't have the needles inside this one because the normal DPNs and the normal sizes and so on I have always in my whip basket, and this is always ready to grab for me. Here is a bag also without needles because it's in my whip basket. With this yarn I don't have to skein it up. This will become a hot water bottle cozy. In this bag, let's see. Oh yeah, I have these beautiful 3 balls of cotton yarn. I love that cotton, it's called, from a friend in our Telegram group, and I will knit these whippy washed mitts. I think it's a pattern by the Bryony Bears. K. Jones, yeah. Whoop. In this bag, let's see. Oh, that's, yeah. Here's only the yarn and the hook is already in my whip basket. There is something my husband asked me to crochet for him, and here are the colors I should use, but I won't speak about it yet. It's a little secret, but he asked for it and it's a long-term project and I will need much more yarn. But these are the colors I will use. Ah yeah, here is, in this homespun house bag, the pattern, the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit, and the yarn is caked up already. The needles, what is it? 3mm needles, the Lantern Moon needles. And the yarn is Life in the Long Grass, Silk Merino 50/50. And I will hold it double to create a DK weight yarn and make the smallest size for my summer and spring dresses. In this Christmas bag, very cute, also by Little Robin Cottage, I love that. I have needles and sport weight Christmas leftovers I want to make coasters out of. I know the pattern by heart because it's only a mitered square. In this bag, I'm sure you think I'm crazy. Oh yeah, in this bag I have needles and the pattern for the dishcloth and all my Lily Sugar and Cream yarns. So this one I received as a gift and I can't wait to start this. I haven't started it yet, although I had the urge to start it, just because I think that's the perfect mommy brain project. And I ordered solid yarns because the solids are easy to get for me, corresponding to the Christmas colors. And the last kit in my Westie bag. Oh yeah, here are my this is my simple house slippers bag. I have the needle and the pattern and a few balls of yarn and the one half finished object. And then I have two other bags for Advent. I wound all my, it's crazy, but all my 10-gram minis, I think only the 10 grams, yeah, all my 10-gram minis I had, leftovers or skeins, and started the first square of my scrappy C2C blanket. Now I'm thinking where I have it. I will show you. See, I still have to get up one more time. So it's not really a bag, it's my felted tote. And inside of this I have color sorted all my 10 to 15 gram minis in different plastic bags so I can keep them in color order. And here is my hook. That's the 2.5mm hook. And now I can put the other two hooks inside I want to try out. And here is my first square. I started out of such a cool yarn. I don't know the colorway, but I'm sure it's a Halloween colorway. And with 10 gram of fingering weight yarn, I was able to make a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 by 12 block square with a 2.5mm hook. And here I marked the spot where I have to attach the next square. Yeah, so this is my Advent project. Yeah, these were my childbed kits. Now we come to the German word of the day, and the German word of the day is Wochenbett. So Wochenbett is the German word for childbed or maternity bed. A Wochenbett translates word by word to week's bed, because the week bed, the child bed, takes 6 to 8 weeks. I know, in the US and other countries, women go to work after 2 weeks or so. But that's not how it should be if you want to recover fully from your birth. So in the past it was the women had to keep their childbed very strictly, so they really stayed in bed for 6 to 8 weeks. Imagine that. Nowadays in Germany it's also, it depends, but usually the first week women stay in bed. And there's this rule, I don't know, 5 days in the bed, 5 days around on the bed, and 5 days around the bed or so. So I have to say that there seems to be a competition between women who is ready to start working inside or outside the home the first, and who is tough and goes through it and who is not lazy staying in bed and so on. I think that is very, very sad, because your body needs these weeks to recover. Your hormone level has to be balanced again. You have a open wound in your womb of approximately that size after birth. And this wound is bleeding a lot, so this has to close. And I don't know how the muscle is called in English. In German it's the Beckenboden. The muscle, for example, you need to hold your pee. This has to be trained and strengthened again after birth. If you don't do that and you start sitting and standing a lot immediately after that, you will have problems for the rest of your life. And you have to learn, if it's your first child, you have to take the time to learn to breastfeed, for example, to get used to your baby, to get to know your baby, to learn when the baby is hungry or when he needs to be with you or to get a diaper change and so on. And to prevent post-birth depression, you need to take your time. I think I read somewhere the hormones drop from before birth and after birth within a few days, comparable to taking 100 anti-baby pills and then stopping immediately and take 0. So that's how far the hormone level drops down. And so I think the women, so the mothers among you who are watching, remember the crying days. So 3 to 5 days after birth, many women when I say feel depressed, it's not depression. It's not, don't confuse it with the real depression some women get after birth. It's you are sad for no reason, you are sitting there and crying and no one understands you and you are overwhelmed, and it's just because of your hormones, because they have to balance out again. So in Germany we are very blessed that we have something which is called Mutterschutz. So that means that you are not allowed, so no one can force you, to work 6 weeks before birth and 8 weeks after birth. And the costs are covered by insurance. And in the first 12 weeks, also covered by insurance, your midwife is visiting you. In the first 2 weeks, she can visit you daily if you want to. And after that, you have a certain amount of visits. I think the first 2 weeks she can come every day, and I think then the next 6 weeks, like, I don't know the amount now, but it comes to 2 to 3 times a week, and after that maybe weekly, so up to the 12 weeks after birth. And if you need more, you can go to your gynecologist and she writes I don't know how it's called, is it a receipt? And then your insurance will pay for, if you really need the visits, will pay on. For example, if you have breast infections or something, you need help with from your midwife with things like that. So that's how it is dealt with in Germany and many other states or countries. But I know that the US is very different. I know that in the US you pretty much have nothing from no one, so you have to be able to afford to stay at home and to rest. And I'm very glad that it's different in Germany. But as I said, especially in Germany as well, it's a competition. And I realized that the boomer generation and the one before the boomer generation, they don't understand that women of my generation and younger are taking the time and stay in bed at least the first 2 weeks. At least the first 2 weeks to really recover and get to know yourself again and your baby and so on. And you often hear sentences like, oh, after I was giving birth, 2 days later I was working on the fields again and I was doing this and that, and I was, yeah, you're so cool, you're so tough, I don't care. If you don't respect your body, I don't care, but I respect my body, and I want to be able to heal, please. And with the open wound I talked about, their problem is no one sees it. If you had an open wound in this size, somewhere visible on your body, everyone would tell you, oh my gosh, lay down, I will get you something, I will cook for you, I will clean the house for you, just stay in the hospital for God's sake. But the wound is inside our body, people don't see it, and especially women, I don't know why, maybe some of you can explain this to me, especially women who gave birth before are the ones who have at the least empathy for young mothers who take their time to recover. And that is making me very sad, because it's the same with many things when it comes to caring for newborns and so on. My generation and the younger generation is doing things differently than Boomer and the generation before that. And these two older generations always think, oh, in our days it was different. Now you young people, you are the hippies and the freaks. But no. We go back a little bit further in history, before industrialization, where things were very different, where there wasn't formula, where the whole household cared for the mother during childbed, and the mother was able to stay in bed for 6 weeks, or at least at home for 6 weeks. And no one expected from a young mother to immediately go out and work again, or to give away the baby with 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks and go to work again. So I realized that the industrialization changed a lot, but the older generations often think what they did was the status quo for all times, and we are now changing everything. No. We go back to the roots. And the health insurance and the doctors and the midwives and so on go back to the roots, how everything started. And if you go to Africa, for example, many African countries still practice it like that and care for the mother. Or Asian countries. I read about Asian countries where they said they are very strict. They are not, the woman is not allowed to leave the bed the first 40 days. 40 days is it there. So that's very strict. You can leave your bed during Wochenbett, during childbed, but you shouldn't do it so early and not too much at once. And that's why I prepare everything. That's why I meal prep everything and prepare the Christmas presents and the knitting kits and so on. So I really can focus on healing and caring for our little one. And I wish so much that the older generation would be more, is it empathetic? With us. That's something and that the women in our generation, the other women who want to start working early again and who want to, I don't know, go shopping 1 week postpartum, they can go for it, but please don't stress us and please don't make a competition out of it. Because other women feel guilty, many women feel guilty if they look after themselves 1 or 2 weeks postpartum and take the time they need. And for everyone it's different. Everyone has other wounds and has other birthing experiences, and it's a difference if it's the first child or the third child, or if you get twins, or if you had a traumatic birth, or there are so many factors you have to consider. And I think we should go back to the roots. That was the German word of the day. Our knit along. So this month prompt in our Telegram group, you are very welcome there. So link down below. In our knitting group we have a prompt every month. And this month it's October, and we knit pattern socks. Or if you want to knit vanilla socks, you have to knit a technique you are not so used to yet, or that's completely new to you yet. For example, toe up or two at a time or cuff down, whatever. Something you are not so familiar with yet. And now we come to the last segment, and then I need to eat something. No, the second last segment. The InstaKnitNight questions. What are your favorite knit items to wear? Socks, hats and cowls. I can't say sweaters, although I love to be able to wear a hand knit sweater, but since I'm wearing only dresses and skirts, my old sweaters aren't so they are too big and not fitted for skirts and dresses, and I have to make new ones so I can enjoy wearing them again. And yeah, I didn't came around to do that yet. And the second question, tell us what you love about your project. Okay, one of my current projects are the mittens for Tommy, and I told you already, I find at the moment more joy in knitting for him and for our baby than to knit for myself. And that's actually the part I am enjoying. Not so much the pattern, not so much the yarn, it's really the process and thinking, oh, I'm doing something for Tommy he really can use, and that will keep him warm and I love him. That's really the reason why I enjoy it. And the last segment is reading and watching. So I still read Glow Kids, a book about the impact of screen time on children. On my e-reader, I'm still reading The Hobbit. I only read it going to bed. So because I always have an e-reader book, because when I awake in the middle of the night and try to fall asleep again, I don't want to turn on the light and awake Tommy, so I'm using my e-reader, which has a light built-in light, and then I'm reading The Hobbit, so I'm making slow progress. And the book is so much better than the movies, I can tell you. My audiobook I'm listening to currently, because I usually have a printed book, an e-reader book and an audiobook for all the occasions. And the audiobook I'm listening to is by Sally Clarkson. What a lovely lady. And it's called A Life-Giving Home. It's about how to be a homemaker, how to create a home that is life-giving, that is fulfilling. And she is a Christian, has a family ministry. She is, I think, 70 years old now. When she wrote that book, I think she was around 60. And she has also a podcast. And the podcast I'm also listening to is called At Home with Sally. So I was looking for books and yeah, mostly books. And now I found this audio podcast, especially for the time when the baby is here, because I don't want to watch something when I'm nursing, because I don't want to have so much screen time for our little one. And I thought with my e-reader I could read while nursing, or I could listen to an audiobook with my headphones. So with one headphone, no worries, I will keep an eye and an ear on our baby. And I think the books by Sally Clarkson will be great, because also the topic, I mean it's about being a homemaker, a Christian homemaker, and the podcasts are so lovely. She shares recipes and traditions and Bible reflections with the audience, and she's the loveliest person you can imagine. So I totally recommend her, Sally Clarkson. She is amazing. Okay, that is everything for today. Now I'm so hungry, and I also want to drink another cup of coffee. Decaf, no worries. And thank you for watching this show. I'm looking forward to reading your comments. If you have questions, feel free to ask them there. And I hope I will see you in our Telegram group. And if not, maybe we will see each other in 2 weeks. I don't know, maybe in 2 weeks the baby is here already, and then I won't be able to podcast. So we will have to take it as it comes. But I'm looking forward to talking to you again. And take the time for the things you love and make you happy. Until next time, bye bye!